as far as Rings of Power goes, I'm going to kick this out to you guys, Max, Zaxx, Nathan. Have you guys seen anything? Have you heard any rumbles? I mean, I'm still keep wondering, when are we going to get a real trailer? When is that Rings of Power action figure and t-shirt line and coffee cup and replica Gladriel's dagger going to be released?
Well,
Never.
I can tell you guys one thing. I'm getting dogpiled on Reddit about this show nonstop by people who are just, they can't sell out enough to defend Amazon and two people who've never written anything. So I'll use it as content at this point, and I would love to love it. I hope it's good. It doesn't look good. I have no reason to think it's going to be good. But there are people on Reddit who they're willing to die on that hill that this is going to be great. I don't know why they think that. I get a lot of, this is the best one. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
Oh, yeah.
But this is someone who has read my comment or watched my video and then took the time to comment back to me. So, like, you just killed your own point.
Yeah, the issue with that point, because I hear that a lot too, Zaxx, is if you don't like it, don't watch it, or you don't have to acknowledge that it's there. But we do kind of have to acknowledge that it's there, because if you take a comic book and you put it onto the big screen, what is the 99% of people going to think of when they think of Superman? The screen adaptation of it. They're going to think of Superman as whatever was in the film, because everyone watches movies. No one reads comic books. So when you get an adaptation put on something as large as Amazon Prime, you are essentially saying to the masses, this is Lord of the Rings. For me, in my opinion, that's where that argument falls apart, is the fact that, hundreds of millions of people are going to watch this show and are going to have this thought of what Tolkien envisioned when it's not.
Nathan, what's your take on that? I mean, you're smoking a Hobbit pipe, for Christ's sake. If we can't trust what you have to say, I don't know who we can trust.
You watch the trailer. They've shown you nothing about the show. You know the bad guy's going to be Sauron. That much they've told you about, but they haven't really told you a whole lot of other things. All the articles have been talking about all of the social stuff that they've been doing to appease the normies. There's nothing about the storyline. And when you're trying to stand on the quality of a show by what you're putting into the cast rather than what you've put into the story, you've lost the plot. They did it with Wheel of Time. And as a prime example to that, we can look at that and say, you know what? Unless you prove me wrong, this show's going to stink. All the rest of Halo, they just did a trailer for that, and it's the same thing. No story. Ms. Marvel was no story. It's all, we're going to present to you what it's going to look like on the surface, the color of skin, the choices of your sexuality. That's what's important to them. It's not a story. A good story, that's what people want on their television. The minute that you present to them that you're not going to give them a good story, or that you don't care about a story, then they're moving on.
Look at Wheel of Time. Within 18 seconds of the first episode, we knew exactly what we were going to get. And I just wonder how many seconds. I mean, I don't know how Amazon beats the 18-second, oh my God, this is not an adaptation record they did with Wheel of Time. Maybe Rings of Power will beat that. Speaking of amazing, Daniel, another super chat. Tolkien turned down a movie deal because they did such a horrendous job with the script. Tolkien cared about standards, not money. Hail to you. Thank you so much, Daniel. If I remember right, they wanted to go a very different direction than the tone of Tolkien, and he just, despite all the money at that time, Tolkien turned it down. And he was very, and you can imagine this, very eloquent in his handwritten script, the reasons why. It wasn't a big FU. You don't get FU from Tolkien. You get a very calm, rational reason why it would do a disservice to his characters and his story. And like Daniel says, Tolkien cared about standards. I'd go another step farther and say Tolkien cared about the world that he built, because at the end of the day, a lot of this was written for his children. And you can see in the interviews, and I've done some videos where you can see clips of Christopher Tolkien and even Priscilla Tolkien talking about how much they loved their father and loved what the world that he had created.
I'll kind of echo what Manetheren was saying earlier, just about, you guys have all pretty much echoed the same sentiment. But I think one of the biggest things right now is the fact that we are not taught, like, what we should be talking about as like fanboys is, oh my God, was that Celeborn? No, that couldn't have been Celeborn. That was Celebrimbor. Wait, would that be?
Yes.
Like, we should be talking about the source material and being excited about, like, okay, so we saw this. So if during the fourth isn't, then that means during the third would technically, like we're having to do gymnastics about what we're seeing on the screen, which is what I love, and going through the source material and saying, what could the story be? When could we see Sauron? But instead, we're playing semantics. We're playing straw man arguments, and these scholars are putting so much work into these articles about why technically elves should be this color, or why technically these dwarves would or not have beards, and it's just semantics. And at the end of the day, we as fanboys, we as nerds, we as true fans, we want to go back to those arguments of, fun arguments of who is that character, or what are we going to see, and as opposed to why would they go against this scripture or this literature. So yeah, that's the unfortunate part.
I think it was a video I put together from our live stream, Max, I think 3 weeks ago, where you were the one who pointed it out, that we're not having conversations about characters, about armor, about standards, about crests, about these characters and how closely they represent the book. We're having conversations about race for characters that do not exist. These are not characters that Tolkien wrote. These are characters that Payne and McKay wrote. And again, these are guys. These are J.J. Abrams' buddies, And there's no tinfoil hat thinking here. These guys got an uncredited writer role for the worst damn Star Trek movie ever made, including that Star Trek movie where they try to find God and it's Spock's brother. Okay, now that took a lot of doing. I'm just gonna say that. And which one is that? Star Trek 7? Which one is that? Damn it! I'm gonna get my nerd card yanked on that one. Has ever. This is Salty Texas C. I am Corey DB. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you've seen and heard, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you on board. That way and we have things like live streams, which we are now going to be doing every Tuesday evening. Take care. I hope you're having a great 2022.